Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
It's March Mania at Sports Interaction, NHL, NBA, MLB, and of course March Madness, and so much more. It's bananas. Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness, exclusive games with insane odds that you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario using the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been sensed. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa, everybody. I am Maude, solo hosting tonight. First time in a little while. I'm a little bit tired, I have to say. I've been up since 6 a.m. this morning, so hopefully I'm not too low energy here tonight, but it was a fun game with plenty to talk about here tonight. Just going to start off with a couple of chat shoutouts here. I see the Footy Boys saying today is their birthday, so happy birthday to you. And then also Adam saying their birthday was last week, so happy belated birthday to you as well. Just a couple shout outs there. And before I get started as well, just because I want to shout out that I'm wearing the official Game Over merch that you can't see on camera because of how my camera is framed, just a reminder to everyone that we do have that merch available at sdpn.ca, as well as many other awesome pieces of merch. So if you've been a fan of Game Over Ottawa this season, that's a nice little thing that you could pick up to rep the show. Just figured I would shout that out since I am wearing it tonight, but no one can see it on camera. But yeah, big win over the Lightning. This is the second time in the last 2 weeks that the Sens have put up 7 goals on the Lightning. I'm pretty sure it was 7-2 last time a couple weeks ago, and I have to say, I don't think that the Tampa Bay Lightning look very good headed into the playoffs here. Like, they're kind of a team that it feels like they can just coast through the whole season, the whole regular season, and then turn it on come playoff time, because I kind of felt this way at the end of last regular season, kind of thinking that Tampa looks sort of done, and then I thought that Toronto was going to beat them in the playoffs, but we all know how that goes with Toronto in the playoffs. They don't seem to like beating people in the first round. However, with how we've been seeing Tampa play lately, I'm thinking it might be Toronto's year. It might be their year to finally win a round, because, boy, Tampa did not look very good tonight. Just dominated on the shot clock all night, and if the Sens had any decent goaltending, like, this might not have been close at all. The Lightning are pretty banged up. I do have to point out, I was thinking that actually I had a list of injuries here that I was going to read out, but then I just realized Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel are both on this list. I guess it was from their last game. They both played tonight, so I think Hagel scored as well. So, but they're still missing Tanner Jeannot. You know what? Pat Maroon is in this list too. He played tonight as well. Missing Tanner Jeannot. Eric Chernak, didn't he play as well? What the hell? So everyone who was out of the lineup when I saved this tweet for the Lightning, most of them were back tonight actually. So I take back my claim of the Lightning being really injured. I guess it's actually not that bad. Yeah, the only guys scratched tonight was Hayden Fleury, Tanner Jeannot, and Mikhail Sergachev, who I believe he is having his first child, so that's why he missed the game today. I saw that only because I have him on my fantasy team, and you get those little updates. So congratulations to him on the birth of his first child. But yeah, Tampa actually had a pretty full lineup tonight, and the Sens just took it to them. 40-24 shots in total, and it wasn't, the shot clock was never really close. Halfway through the game, it was 16-8 shots for the Sens, and it started that way, and it just kind of stayed that way, with the Sens carrying the play for most of this one. But I'm going to run it back to my notes at the start of the game, kind of run through the game in chronological order. If anyone is hanging around in chat and has any questions or comments, please do let me know, even if it has nothing to do with what I'm currently talking about. I love getting the chat comments and responding, so if you got anything on your mind, be sure to let me know tonight. But 30 seconds into the game, Drake Batherson scores. The kind of almost feels like a rare even strength goal for him, because he is the power play goal scorer this year for some reason, only scoring on the power play, but he gets one at even strength. And it was a weird bounce on a dump in from DeBrincat. Eric Branstrom with a great assist, though, just sending it to the net off of that weird bounce. It kind of came right to him, and Batherson just got like a slight deflection on it. Like at first, when it went in, I was sure that it was just Brandstrom's goal, but they zoomed in on Batherson right away, focused on him on the broadcast. Like right away, they seemed to have realized that he tipped it, so it is his goal in the end, and that was just an awesome start. A little unfortunate for Tampa. Like you can't really say that they messed up on that play. It was just a weird bounce off of a stanchion, but we take those, and we love to see Eric Branstrom recording more points. That's 15 assists on the season now. I'm just quickly checking to see if he had any other assists tonight. It was just the one, but Eric Branstrom finally getting some decent point production now that he has more ice time, and I will say it's not even just that he has more ice time, but also that he has better line mates when he's on the ice. Even if he was playing about the same amount of minutes, I think the fact that he's out there now with the top 6 lines most of the time, he's suddenly putting up points, because I wish I could go back and see what his stats were about halfway through the year. I seem to remember looking at some point, and he had around 35 to 40 games played, and he had 0 goals, 2 assists, or 3 assists, or something like that. And now he's got 16 points, or 17 points. They haven't updated it yet. 17 points in 72 games. So it's not huge for a defenseman, but the fact that 90% of those points have come in the last 2 months here, where he's gotten increased ice time. Originally with the previous injury to Sanderson was when he moved up, and then can't remember if I think that was before we got Chychrun as well, and then Chychrun and Chabot going down. Then it's just Sanderson and Branstrom absolutely carrying the defense. So I like to see Branstrom getting points, and I've been, even without the points, been very happy with his play lately. Adam in the chat asking, without rooting for the Sens in the playoffs, are there any teams or matchups that you're intrigued by? As a as a certified Leafs hater, I watch, or at least follow, most of the the Leafs playoff series every year. Usually watching, but last season, and rooting for them to lose, obviously. Last season, I was working evening shifts, night shifts until 11 p.m. and I would be in the back room at work with headphones on, listening to the Tampa Bay radio feed for quite a few games in that playoff series, and it was quite interesting to be listening to a playoff series on the radio like that. I don't think I've really ever done that before, but I'm always focused on the Leafs playoff series because it's funny when they lose, although as I said earlier, I do think that they're probably going to beat the Lightning this year. But I'll be keeping an eye on that for sure. And then in terms of any other matchups, I guess just quickly, I'm hoping that New Jersey and the Rangers play in the first round. It's very close between first and second in that division, so Carolina might slip out of first, and maybe that won't be the first round matchup, but I'm hoping we get that because that would be a sick rivalry. And then I also always follow Edmonton in the playoffs. My dad is an Oilers fan, so Oilers are kind of my second or third team along with Columbus, so I'll be watching all those teams in the playoffs. Unfortunately, not watching the Sens in the playoffs, though. Josh as well saying, do you think, as a Flames fan, do you think the Flames will make the playoffs? Flames are really up and down this year. I won't say that they're like the Sens because they've got totally different problems, but the Flames are kind of like another team here where they'll play a couple great games and then play a couple absolutely awful games. They went 0-2-1 against Chicago this season, and similar to the Sens who went 0-1-1 against them. Just goofy how that kind of thing happens. I don't know. It's basically just whether or not Winnipeg completely messes up and lets Calgary into the playoffs, because Winnipeg got a big shutout win tonight, which gives them a 2-point gap now with even games played. I think, does Calgary play tonight? Yeah, Calgary plays Vancouver tonight, so Calgary could tie them again, but then Winnipeg having the game in hand, I do think it's going to be very difficult for Calgary to get in, but I would... Now, okay, I was gonna say, I would like to see them get in because there would be a potential for Battle of Alberta again in the first round if Edmonton can pass Vegas in the last couple games here, if you get Edmonton first place and Calgary in the last wild card, but it's a little bit unlikely to happen. That would be really fun, but I also don't want to count the Jets out entirely too, because I like the Jets, and they were doing so well earlier this season. I'm kind of sad seeing the Jets fall off. So at least if the Jets do fall off, there's a potential for that Battle of Alberta. So, but best of luck to the Flames there, Josh. Hopefully they can do what the Sens couldn't and manage to make a bit of a miracle run in the last few games and get into the playoffs. But yeah, back to the Sens and the Lightning. As I was saying, I'm really not much of a believer in the Lightning this year. Like they just didn't impress me this game, and definitely not the last game against the Sens either. Just this is a team that you would expect to be carrying the play a lot more with the stars that they have, but it kind of feels to me like they kind of sit back a lot. They strike on the power play, and it doesn't really feel to me like they're pushing play lately. This road trip in particular, I think, has been terrible for them. If I remember correctly, they lost 6-3 to the Rangers, 6-1 to the Islanders, and then 7-4 now to the Sens, which is just an insane amount of goals to give up in one road trip. And like here tonight, Brian Elliott wasn't the best. Like some of the goals he had no chance, but some of them, like that Kastelik goal at the end there, like you really got to have that one. So I don't know if Vasilevsky played those other two previous games where they allowed 6. I know he played against the Rangers. Don't know if he played against the Islanders, but either way, very concerning Tampa allowing so many goals here. And I was talking about who they had in the lineup because there was some injuries, although a lot of guys came back today. It's only Sergachev missing from their defense, so he's just missed this one game. He'll be back, and that helps a lot. But other than that, this is basically their team for the playoffs. So it'll be interesting against the Leafs. But yeah, and this is the thing I was saying. Tampa Bay has just been kind of. I feel like they rely on the power play quite a bit this season. It was 3 power play goals for the Lightning tonight, which is just ugly for the Sens penalty kill. And it's a little bit weird because I haven't really noticed anything outside of like a few specific mistakes, like on the 5-on-3 today. I haven't really noticed anything like positioning wise or like systems wise that I think the penalty kill has been doing worse at, because I think it's been very good overall for most of the season. But the 3 power play goals against here today, and it was I had it written down here somewhere. Yeah, 10 power play goals allowed in the last 6 games for the Sens, which is just really rough. The first one I think was tough because the first minute of the penalty kill early in this game where Killorn scored, the first minute of that, I thought the penalty kill was actually doing fantastic. The Lightning couldn't get set up at all. We cleared it like 3 separate times at least. But then once the Lightning did get set up at about the halfway mark of that penalty, then they were just whipping it around easily. We weren't really getting in the passing lanes to break things up. And then Stamkos with that shot, like obviously Stamkos' shot is lethal, but that it wasn't even a one-timer, which is a little bit weird to me. Usually he's cranking the one-timers, but this time he had so much time and space where he already had the puck. He's just standing still and he's like, you know what, I'll just throw it at the net. They've given me so much time to just shoot it. And I feel like you don't usually see just stationary slap shots like that on the power play where there's not really any movement to create the shot, you know, the movement turning it into a one-timer. He just cranked it standing still there, and Killorn gets the tip. I'm not going to be too harsh on Talbot for this one, just because it was deflected, but when I originally saw it, I was like, okay, Stamkos was pretty far out, and he had all day to shoot, so it's a play where I would have liked to see a save from Talbot, ideally. But again, it was deflected. I didn't get too good of a look on how it was deflected, like up, down, to the side or whatever, so I don't know if it was much of a severe deflection, but deflections are always tough. So I won't be too harsh on Talbot for that one, even though we're being very harsh on Cam Talbot lately in general, which I'll get into more later. After that, Matthew Joseph had a really nice chance. Didn't turn into too much of a great scoring chance, but he had a good opportunity kind of at the end of a shift. So he was tired. I think if it was earlier in the shift, he would have been able to just blow by the Tampa defense, but he had to cut back and take a shot kind of from the top of the circles. But I was kind of watching Joseph closely here tonight because I was thinking he would be a little bit amped up against his former team. And to be honest, I thought he was really good. I thought this was one of Joseph's best games since he's come back from injury, and maybe all season because it's been a pretty up and down season for him. But I liked his jump tonight. He got an assist later in the. Didn't he? Wait, where am I seeing this in the box score? I was like, he got an assist, and now I'm like, I don't see it anywhere. Wasn't it on the Patrick Brown goal? The Patrick Brown. Okay. Patrick Brown's goal now reads assist from Kasterlik and Zub. So I guess Zub's shot hit Kasterlik on the way in before Brown got to it. I had written down that Joseph made a great play to retrieve the puck and get it to the point to Zub on that one. And I was giving him credit for the assist, but no, that got removed apparently. So that sucks for Joseph because I thought that he played really well tonight and had some good scoring chances as well. It was into the second period, I think it was, near the beginning of the second, but he also had a deflection that hit the side of the net. It was pretty close to going in though because Elliott wasn't really expecting it. So close calls for Joseph here tonight. It really sucks that he only has 3 goals on the season, and of course, the trade with Nick Paul, I don't know how much I want to get into that because everyone's got their opinions on that and most of them will probably be the same. Obviously, Paul having a much better season this year, but playing with better players, playing on a much better team. And to be fair, I think Nick Paul had a hot streak early in the year, like between like the 20th and 40th game of the season there. I think somewhere around there I remember seeing it. And I don't remember the last time I've actually seen Nick Paul score. Like, I'm always watching highlights lately, and I think he's gone kind of cold in terms of offense. Still, I think he might be on a career high in points. I'll see here. Yeah, 32 is his career high in points this season, but so good for him. But he has cooled off a bit too, so it's not... Yeah, I'm looking at his game logs now, and I don't know if I want to sit here counting live on air, but his last goal was February 21st against Anaheim. And I don't want to discredit Paul too much because he's a fantastic player. Looking at his game logs here, he still plays like 19 to 20 minutes a night on some of these nights because he's such a reliable defensive player. And he can play on any line, move up and down your lineup. So we all know the value of Nick Paul. But I just got to say that Joseph was good tonight. I think Joseph still has potential, not necessarily to be like a top 6 forward or anything like that, but to at least get back to a solid third liner level if he can just get a bit more production. Maybe playing with some better depth scorers. Like at the beginning of the season, it was supposed to be Tyler Maude, Shane Pinto, and Matthew Joseph as the third line. And we were all really excited for that. It was a really good line in preseason. Obviously, Tyler Maude isn't that much of a quality depth scorer. He's more of a penalty killer who doesn't provide that much scoring. Although he had a 2-goal night earlier this week, which was actually against Tampa Bay, which was a little bit funny. But I think that if Joseph is playing like a whole season on the third line with Pinto, and then you sub someone else in that left wing spot, I'm trying to think if there would be a good option on the current roster for that left wing spot there. Maybe that could be a position that they fill externally. Joseph could play both wings too, so you could put him on the left wing. Maybe you could have Joseph, Pinto, and Sokolov as a third line next year. I wouldn't be too... I would be a little bit excited if something like that were to happen. We saw Sokolov obviously pick up his first NHL goal tonight, so we see the potential with Sokolov there. But yeah, just in terms of Joseph, I think the points are obviously disappointing this year, and specifically the goal scoring, but I think he still does have some potential. I'm trying to be positive about Matthew Joseph, so I'll leave it at that for that. I should mention as well, Julien Gauthier with the goal in the first period. This is pretty much the last note that I had for the first period here. Beautiful snipe. It's very silly that Julien Gauthier was scratched for as long as he was. I'm gonna check now because I don't know when his last game played was. His last game was March 25th against the Devils, and that's a solid 2 weeks there. I really don't know why. Yeah, that's exactly 2 weeks. That was a Saturday game 2 weeks ago. I really don't know why DJ has had him out of the lineup for so long. He's not a guy that's going to be sniping it every night like that, like he did here today. It was a beautiful goal. A little bit unexpected from him, but he's got 3 goals since joining the Sens, and 9 goals on the season is the best in our bottom 6, other than Brassard, who's now injured. So I really don't know why he's been scratched, and I think with his speed and his size, he's a good forechecker. I think he should play the last 2 games of the season as well. If he gets scratched again, that will just be silly. To be fair, he has been scratched kind of in favor of Patrick Brown lately. And Patrick Brown did get a goal here tonight too, so credit to Brown as well. I think he was great tonight. I don't know if Patrick Brown is necessarily someone that they will want to bring back next season, but I wouldn't be opposed to him as like a 13th or 14th forward option. I would say either bring back Patrick Brown or bring back Gambrell, not both. Ideally, you don't really ever want to have both of those guys in your lineup at once, but one or the other popping in occasionally for like 20 to 40 games when filling in for injuries and stuff, it's pretty decent. Like Patrick Brown, he hustles out there, he blocks shots, he throws hits, and he gets rewarded with a nice greasy goal tonight in front of the net. So happy with his performance here tonight. Don't know if he'll be re-signed for next season, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. And with Gauthier as well, I really think they should bring him back on a cheap deal. Like, he would probably have to be on a one-way deal. I don't think you could convince him to take a two-way, but probably not much more than league minimum for a 1-year deal. I think Gauthier is worth keeping around, but we'll see. Don't really know. I don't really have a read on whether or not that'll happen. I mean, obviously, especially with these depth players, where different managers will prefer different types of players at the bottom of their lineup. We don't even know if Pierre Dorion will be back. So he's brought in these 2 guys, Gauthier and Brown, very recently around the trade deadline. And we don't know if Dorion is going to be around much longer. So it's possible that a new GM comes in and he says, we don't need these guys. We need different guys for the bottom 6. And again, ideally, I don't think I want either of them starting like every game for the Sens. Maybe Gauthier like starting as the 4th line right wing. I'd be cool with that, especially because I don't think Watson will be back. I'd be good with that. But again, I don't know if these guys are going to be re-signed, but very good for both of them to score here tonight and maybe raise a little bit of their off-season value, whether or not they're re-signed by the Sens. Maybe they could each get picked up by another team if not. So very nice to see that depth scoring here tonight, especially because that's been our biggest issue all season. It's very funny that we get Gauthier, Brown, Sokolov, and Kastelik all scoring tonight. Batherson, DeBrincat, Giroux with the other ones, more usual suspects. But yeah, depth scoring, it's been a problem, and like I think everyone wants to see totally refreshed bottom 6 next year, which I agree with. But happy to see them do well tonight, even though we're totally out of it in terms of playoffs. Nice to see these guys do well and succeed at the NHL level and show that they belong. Some of these guys. Adam in the chat asking, what's the number one thing you feel needs to be improved next year? I think I'm tempted to say goaltending, and I'm going to talk more about goaltending later, but maybe that's recency bias. Like in terms of the number one thing, I don't know if goaltending is if we're just overreacting because Talbot hasn't been good lately, and we're missing Forsberg. We obviously know that he is a good like 1A starter, and if Forsberg had been playing, like if he didn't get injured at all and he played the rest of the season for the Sens, could be a different story. Like there's been a few games where we've just given up points just because, sorry, I don't know if anyone heard that loud crash. I got distracted from something upstairs. Hopefully the mic didn't pick that up. But yeah, like there's been some games where we've given up points just because of a subpar goaltending, and you never know. If Forsberg didn't get injured, maybe this team is squeaking into the 8th playoff spot. So I feel like it might be recency bias to say that goaltending is the biggest issue. So for now, to answer your question, Adam, I will say I think depth scoring for sure. And maybe some of that could have to do with like getting a new coach as well and having a different system for 5-on-5 offense, because right now the way our bottom 6 is built is just a bunch of grinders, a bunch of guys who just go out there and throw the body, which I like, but they're not the type of players that can do that and produce enough. Like these guys, like, oh my god, I forgot about Parker Kelly. I just remembered. I was about to start listing off like Kelly, Kastelik, and Watson has been the fourth line for most of the season, and I just had like an epiphany being like, I forgot that Parker Kelly existed because he's been injured for weeks now, what did he has one goal on the season, I think, and I don't even remember when he scored that, or if he even actually did score a goal. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm sure someone in chat will correct me, but I think he did score. Might have been against Anaheim, which is the most random thing to say if it isn't true. But these guys like Kelly, Kastelik, and Watson. I like Kastelik. I'd like to see him return as the fourth line center next year, but get him some better wingers who can create more offense than he can, so that it's so there's not just bang and crash and that's it, and they don't really produce much. And then even the third line, at least having Pinto back will help with the depth scoring. Like Josh says in the chat, getting Norris back, pushing Pinto down will improve it for sure. I think, again, it's just a bit of a, like I was saying about Forsberg getting injured and that the goaltending now struggling since then, it's a bit of bad luck that cost the Sens this year. You have to say, even though there is big issues like the Norris injury as well, just super bad luck. And if we had him all year, like, we're going to finish somewhere between like 5 to 8 points out of the playoffs, I think. Maybe if we win out, it might be a little closer than that. But if you're within 5 points of the playoffs and you're missing your leading goal scorer from last year, a guy who put up 35 goals in 66 games last year, missing him for the whole year, and he was supposed to be the first line center at the beginning of the year. We weren't expecting Stützle to have to completely take over, which thank God that he was able to do and just become a superstar. But we were expecting Norris to be the first line center for this season. So if you have a healthy Norris for even half the year, like, again, it's a lot of ifs, but maybe that puts us sneaking into the 8th spot, or at least like tied in there, and maybe we finish in, maybe we finish out. But you are correct, Josh, that having Norris back is going to help a lot with the depth scoring. And like I said earlier, I think if you have Pinto and Joseph together, I think is a very good pairing for the third line. And then I think you just need kind of a playmaker type to go along with them, because we know Pinto can score goals. We know Matthew Joseph can forecheck, and with his great speed. So just get a little playmaking element in there on the third line with those guys, and I think that's good. And then on the fourth line as well, even though we had fourth liners scoring tonight, like Gauthier, Brown, and Kastelik, get someone with a little bit more offensive flair, I think. I don't know, it's a weird thing in the NHL where I feel like most teams don't employ people who have offensive flair to play on their fourth line, but there's got to be grinders out there that can at least chip in like 10 goals, whereas for most of the season, we were playing guys who aren't going to finish with 10 goals, just frankly. But yeah, I got to say depth scoring as the main issue for me this season. Where am I going from here? I feel like I've bounced around a little bit. We had the 5-on-3 I should talk about. Tampa getting those 2 goals to tie the game up quickly. It was 3 goals on 11 shots for Cam Talbot at that point, which sucked, and Cam Talbot has sucked. Luckily, he was pretty good for the rest of the game after this 5-on-3. That Braden Point goal in the third period was just a tap-in where he had no chance. That was just a pure defensive breakdown, so I can't blame him on that one. And obviously, the Brandon Hagel goal, the first power play goal, obviously a defensive breakdown. The 5-on-3, I've never seen 3 guys go into the corner for a puck battle on a 5-on-3. Like, we had the 2 guys in there already digging for it, and then I think it was Holden just kind of eased in too far and got way too close to the puck battle that was going on. So then when we lost it, they just had the easy pass for a mini 2-on-0 right in front. So as I was saying about the penalty kill, I don't, like, it's been bad lately, but I don't think it's been like noticeably really bad. It's just that shots have been going in, and like the goalies haven't been great. I think Florida scored a few power play goals on Merolainen and Sogard. I don't know, I can't remember how many they scored, but it was at least like 2 or 3. And some of those shots in that game just shouldn't have gone in. And speaking of shots that shouldn't have gone in, I feel like the Victor Hedman goal was entirely savable. I think Cam Talbot should have had that one. It is Victor Hedman on a one-timer. He can rip it, but just it looked like Talbot was square to the shot and he was ready for it, and it just went by him anyway. That's not what you want to see, especially for a goalie like Talbot, who's at this point battling for a contract next season, not from the Sens, but from anyone else. Like, you'd think even if he's kind of checked out on the team in these past couple of weeks, you'd think he would at least be able to get in the mindset of, oh, I got to play really well to earn a contract next season. Because right now I don't know who's going to give it to him. I'm sure someone will sign him, but it's like he's just on an ugly stretch here. So luckily Talbot was able to hold the fort for the rest of the game, other than that one tap in for Braden Point, which is not his fault. So at least there's that. He didn't cost us tonight, but again, what is it, a .833 save percentage, which is the best of his last 3 starts, I'm pretty sure, because it was definitely below 800 in that Flyers game. And somehow I'm blanking on what his, oh yeah, the Columbus game, I think it was 4 goals on like slightly less shots. So this is his best game in a while, and still an .833 save percentage, which is quite rough, but at least we got to cheer on. Lots of goals tonight, lots of scoring, so the goaltending didn't matter too much for us. And I mentioned it a couple times, but I got to fully focus on it for Igor Sokolov's first NHL goal. So happy for him, so excited to see him finally score that. I feel like he's had actually some pretty good, like a couple good scoring chances in the last 2 games, even though he had very limited ice time. So super happy for him. Everyone loves Sokolov, and I feel like I don't know what his future with the organization is going to be. But there is, like I've been talking about, the depth scoring. He could provide that. There is opportunity in this bottom 6. So love to see him get that goal, prove that he's able to score in the NHL, even though it's just your first goal, but you got to start somewhere. It was a beautiful move on Elliott. Elliott had no chance, hung him out to dry. A bit of a lucky chance that he got the puck in the first place. I think it was Chernak who just fell down and then gave up the puck. So it was a bit of a funny goal, but Sokolov turned it into a beautiful goal with that nice deke in front. And yeah, I think if he can get a little bit of a scoring touch at the NHL level, even if it's just like being able to be a guy who chips in 10 to 15 goals in the bottom 6, I think that would be very good for him and very good for the team as well. So very glad to see Igor score here tonight. And hopefully he can get another goal in the last couple games here. I'd like to see him with a little bit more increased ice time maybe in the last couple games, since there's not really any stakes for the Sens. Yeah, because it was actually, I'm just seeing now his ice time was only 6:54 today, which I think is even less than the previous 2 games. And even in that Florida game, when it became such a shit show, I thought that his ice time would have been a little bit higher, since we were having a bunch of players get kicked out of the game. Like we were down, Watson got injured, and then we were down Kastelik and Brady for like half the game. So it was a little bit weird to me that he only played 8 minutes, 30 seconds in that game, but that game was a complete shit show, so it was weird. But I hope DJ can up his ice time just a little bit more in the last 2 games. Like Dylan Gambrell played 13 minutes tonight, and he did get an assist, but you don't really need to be playing Dylan Gambrell over 10 minutes like ever. You put him on the penalty kill. That's about the only time I ever don't mind seeing Gambrell out there on the ice. Maybe his Gambrell's ice time is a little bit inflated tonight because Tampa had 5 power plays, although it says that they were 3 for 5, but I think it was really more 4 opportunities because you had the overlap with the 5-on-3. So NHL.com doesn't want to show me what his Gambrell's shorthanded ice time was. Can't see that there in the basic box score, but I don't know. Give me more Sokolov, DJ. I would like to see it. That's my main point here. Daniel in the chat saying, Clevin has looked impressive, more so than you would have expected this early. And I totally agree with that. I feel like I didn't really have too many notes on the Sens defense tonight because I feel like lately, like with no Shabbat, no Chikrin, basically as a whole, the D-core they've been running, I feel like has been very good at transitioning the puck and getting it out of our zone quickly. It's more so when we get caught on the cycle and caught defending without the puck that I find they struggle, like on that the 4th Tampa goal tonight. and they're a little bit on the penalty kill goals as well, but obviously that's not 5-on-5. But yeah, Clevin has just fit in perfectly with this decor so far. 13 minutes tonight, he was solid. I didn't have too many notes on him, but every game he has fit in, and it's always interesting with players coming from college. You never really know how it's going to go with these short little stints at the end of the season, but I do think Clevin has a chance to start the year with the team next year. I don't think it would be a problem either if he spends time in Belleville as well, maybe for like half the season or so, and then you bring him up later in the year next year. But very good start to the career for Tyler Clevin. He's fitting in perfectly. And we got to see his slap shot a little bit tonight. He had a couple shots on goal where you could see the power in the shot. And I think it was the first shot that he had. It was a one-timer. Almost went under Elliott's arm on the blocker side. It was very close to slipping through. And that would have been awesome if he was able to, if Elliott was able to let that one in for us and give us Clevin's first goal. But he's got a bomb from the point. Wouldn't be surprised to see him score in the next couple games. I had actually seen, yeah, here it is. This is from a few days ago, so I think this is before the Florida game, which was a mess, so it may screw with the stats a little bit, but Trevor Shakos had tweeted, among players who have had more than one game played for the Sens, Tyler Clevin was first on the Sens for Corsi 4 percentage at 62.39%, and first in expected goals for at 59.86. So that's from a couple games ago, but that's very impressive for a rookie to just step in and get advanced stats like that right away. Like, that's just awesome stuff. That proves how well he's fitting in. So yeah, very happy with Tyler Clevin so far, and it's always exciting to have rookies join your team late in the year, especially now that we don't have any playoff hopes. It's nice. That's the main thing I'm looking for in these last few games, is watching these guys like Sokolov and Clevin. Even though they didn't get a ton of ice time, I mean, it's against a top team in the league in the Lightning, so you're gonna be riding your top guns, and those guys won't get as much ice time. But it's awesome to see both of those guys excelling. And especially Clevin on defense. Like, I wish I could see his overall. It would take me too long to pick it up, but I gotta look into how those advanced stats have changed over the last couple of games, if they're any better or any worse. He's just been great. And this is a bit of a random shift in topic, but since I was just talking about some Corsi stats, I also wanted to point out that the line of Batherson, Pinto, and DeBrincat tonight was 80% Corsi 4 with 12 Corsi 4. Actually, I don't even know, is it Corsi 4 or is it Chances 4? I think it's Chances when they say CF and CA, but anyway, 12 4 and 3 against. I'm pretty sure it's Chances, right? I feel a little bit dumb for throwing out the stat and then misremembering what it is, but 80% on the Corsi, we like that from the second line, especially since I think Pinto hasn't always been great in the second line center role, and we all wish that we had Norris to push Pinto back down, but Pinto was awesome tonight, I thought, and this line as a whole was great. You get goals from Batherson and DeBrincat. Pinto had some really good scoring chances as well that were created by DeBrincat. DeBrincat, I don't think he got an assist tonight, but on some of those setups, he was showing why he leads the Sens in primary assists this season, so had to shout out that line as well, because they were clearly our best line tonight. And for like the past week now, I feel like the Stützle line hasn't been as good lately. Stützle was pointless for the last 4 games until the assist on the empty net tonight. So very glad that he was able to get that, get back on the board there. I want to see him hit 90 points. I think he's on 87, maybe 88. 40 goals would be unlikely unless he gets a hat trick in one of the last couple games, but hopefully Timmy can scrape up to 90 points. That would be just awesome. But yeah, I feel like the first line has gone a little bit cold lately, and I think DJ is a little bit reluctant to break that line up. So it's very good for us that the second line has picked it up lately. I've been pretty happy with them, and it's a line, that combination of the 3 players, Batherson, Pinto, and DeBrincat, that I haven't totally been happy with like throughout the season. That they've been very up and down, I find. So glad that they're playing well lately. And even though Norris will slot back into the top 6 next year and Pinto will go down, Batherson and DeBrincat building chemistry is good, because they might they might stay together as the winger pairing on the second line next year. So good to see them having success. And just even in terms of DeBrincat, like, especially with the first line going cold, I've probably said this like 10 times already this season, but my God, I still want to see DeBrincat playing with Stützle at even strength. I think we need that to happen. Like, even just in the last 2 games, like I just want to see it. I want to see Stützle with DeBrincat. But it doesn't seem like DJ wants to ever do that. I wonder if maybe next year, maybe a new coach will try that. And also, I don't know if DeBrincat can play right wing, but if anyone in chat knows, let me know if DeBrincat has ever played right wing before, because if he could, I think having Tkachuk, Stützle, and DeBrincat would just be totally awesome. I think that would at least be something worth trying. Obviously, Giroux is awesome on that line too, but I just think the playmaking of Stützle and the finishing, well, even though it hasn't been great this year, but the finishing ability of DeBrincat, I think, could be a fun thing to see, especially in the last couple games now that we're out of it. I want to see DJ just put those guys together, just to please me, DJ, with the with the line combination. And yeah, Josh also mentioning in the chat that DeBrincat did have an assist on the Batherson goal. That is true. The off that goofy dump in. So he did get 2 points tonight. 1 goal, 1 assist for DeBrincat. Just awesome stuff. And yeah, I think really that's where I'm gonna leave it for tonight. Unless anyone has any more comments or questions from the chat, I think that's probably all my thoughts for this game. It was very entertaining. Some good goals from both teams, and just it was kind of back and forth. Like, it seemed when Tampa got those 2 5-on-3 goals that they might be able to take over the game, but we were able to keep it going, and we just kept the shot clock totally in our favor all game. It's not like Tampa got too much more momentum after scoring those 5-on-3 goals, so it was nice to see the Sens kind of just controlled the game for the whole 60 minutes, despite the score being closer than maybe you would have liked, considering how we controlled the game. But very good performance from the Sens, and especially since we got eliminated in ugly fashion on Thursday. I didn't really know if we were going to be seeing a very very like passionate performance from the Sens tonight, because they like just being eliminated, they might be a little downer, like, oh, there's nothing left to play for. But I guess Tampa's still a great team that you'll always want to be ready for, despite them being 3-7-0 in their last 10, as I'm just looking at the standings here. So I'm sure teams are always motivated to play against a fantastic team like Tampa, who's gotten 2 cups recently. And oh yeah, one more thing I wanted to say about Tampa is I can't believe that they said on the broadcast about halfway through the game that John Cooper has never won the Jack Adams Award, and I am fact checking just really quickly. I'm sure they were correct. And yeah, that's weird to me. I didn't realize that. I feel like, because John Cooper has been coaching the Lightning for 10 years now. I think I saw recently he hit the 10-year mark, and obviously they have 2 cups and some President's trophies in that span. It's pretty surprising to me that John Cooper does not have a Jack Adams. I just thought that was pretty funny. I thought that he would have won it in the year where they had 62 wins and then proceeded to get swept by Columbus, but it is a regular season award. So I was just curious here to check which season that was that he got, that he didn't get it. It looks like it was, I think it was 18-19, or was it 17-18? No, it was 18-19. And they gave it to Barry Trotz that year. So I guess Barry Trotz on the Islanders, I guess that's right after Tavares left. So that was an awesome story of the Islanders that year. And Trotz with his second Jack Adams, but it feels like a little bit of a shame to me that John Cooper doesn't have a Jack Adams, and I don't know with this core for Tampa winding down if he'll ever get one. But it's kind of like Carlson with Norris's, where there's some years that he deserved it and didn't get it at all, and there's other years where he still deserved it, but maybe not as much as the years that he didn't get it. and John Cooper has just had a lot of great seasons and never gotten one, which is a little weird to me, but yeah, it's all about the playoff success. I'm sure he doesn't really care about winning the Shaq Adams, but I just thought that was interesting. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave it tonight. I'm not overly impressed with the Lightning at the moment, despite them obviously being one of the best teams the last 5 years. So I am scared that they are going to lose to the Leafs in the playoffs, but it's going to happen eventually where the Leafs finally do win a playoff round. It is. I was like mentally preparing myself for it last year. I was pretty sure that the Leafs were going to win. Like they blew out Tampa in game 1 and then they beat them on home ice. I think like game 3, I think, to go up 2-1. They beat them pretty handedly. And then game 6, it was going to OT. I think Kucherov scored like a power play goal in the third period of that game to tie it. And then Tampa ended up winning in OT, but that whole game, it just felt like Toronto was finally going to do it. And somehow they didn't, and then they got dunked on by Nick Paul, which we love to see. Hopefully Nick Paul can dunk on the Leafs again this year, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I think the Leafs might just be the stronger team this year, because I haven't been too impressed with the Lightning lately. But yeah, Adam, you're scared too. Yeah, it's going to happen eventually. But the thing is, at least all these previous times where Toronto lost in the playoffs, like up until last year, I was always saying like, nah, they're not going to win. The opponent is clearly better. Toronto has all these flaws. And now this year and last year as well, I'm like, I'm just like undoubtedly like, yeah, Toronto is really good and they should win the first round, but then they don't. So then it's even funnier when they don't do it. Like the Montreal year as well, they totally should have won that. And I think they should have won last year. So if Tampa does win that series, it will be really, really funny anyway. So yeah, talking a little playoffs, even though it's not totally relevant to the Sens, because obviously the Sens will not make the playoffs. But we've got 2 more games to go. It will be a little bittersweet wrapping up the season here. It's been a fun season. I'm not going to get too retrospective yet because we'll do that in the last show of the season. But yeah, it's a little bit sad wrapping up the season, but at least we were able to hang on to slight playoff hopes until the last 3 games now. So we'll have fun watching those last couple games, and I'll have fun doing my last couple shows, last couple game overs of the season. I'll be back on Monday to cover the game against Carolina. So that's going to be it for tonight, everyone. Leave a like on the stream if you enjoyed. Subscribe to SDPN. Share the stream around if you enjoyed it as well. And one last time, I'm going to shout out the Game Over merch. We have the Game Over Ottawa specific. We have it for every team, but the Ottawa one specifically, the Robots got a little Ottawa jersey. So if you do not have any Game Over Ottawa merch, you can find that at sdpn.ca. We would love to see more people repping the show. But yeah, everyone have a good night and thank you for watching.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.